Today we're gonna start with the first group of candidates from this week. We start with the position of activities, and there are like two candidates, Andrew Mutenga and Jake Rogers. So we're gonna start with a minute with each candidate to tell us about themselves. So we'll start with Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Matanga. I'm a final year student. I do product design, and also I work at the SU shop, and also I'm a member of the American football team.
Right, that's it, Andrew. Okay, and now it's your time, Jake.
Thank you. Hello. So I'm Jake Rogers. I'm the current activities officer at the SU, and I'm rerunning for that position. I'm a sports journalism graduate, was president of the football club, and I've just spent this year in the office working on my manifesto, working on making student life better, providing more opportunities. Yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you, Jake. So now we have 5 questions for you to answer. We'll start with Andrew. You are both guys coming from sports background. What would you do to help societies?
Okay. Well, my manifesto tries to target quite a few non-sport societies. Some main points I've got is working with the committee members of society. I've also got collaboration with the schools within the university, and I've also got focusing on events that are also for like non-sport societies.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Now, Jake.
Yeah. So obviously doing it a year, I think I should probably mention a little bit about what I've done this year and what I'm working towards. So at the beginning of the year, we took a look at grant funding and how that worked for societies, and how they were paying in more and not getting as much as what sports clubs would. So we were able to offer a free membership for the first time, which was quite a big move. And this year I'm planning, my whole campaign is based around space on campus really. I want to offer more society space on the SU floor as well as around on campus, and that's what I'm working towards, offering more rooms. We've had a lot of complaints about rooms and availability and things like that, so we're looking to provide more space and more opportunities for societies to put on events, meetings and things like that.
Okay, thank you. The second question, what would you plan to do to encourage more students to take part in student activities? I'm starting with you, Jake, this time.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so a massive part of this year has been the fact that we're moving away from commitment and we're moving away from that set society structure and sports structure. So we've been working a lot on participation and social sport and social projects and things like that, walking trips and that type of thing. So I just really want to develop participation and engage more students that way, rather than putting pressure on students to commit to term-long things such as societies, but more turn up, get involved, meet new people, and collaborate with other students.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Now, Andrew.
Yeah. One of my points was making a flexible payment plan for the societies here at the university. Because with how it seems when you do like for American football, we had to do an upfront payment of £85, I believe it is, for the first term, and then I believe it's £60 or something for the next term. And for some students, that can be quite a daunting amount of money. So I believe if we install a kind of like a flexible payment plan, whether pay monthly or within the 3 terms, because I saw a few facts saying that the NUS said that 1 in 5 students avoid participating in a sport due to the high cost of or how they see it. And also that at the university here, we're down to 1 per 22 students within the university involved within a sports club. So I believe that making the cost of it not seem too scary can kind of encourage that.
Thanks, Andrew. Third question, how would you encourage different types of students to get involved with activities? I'm starting with you this time.
I think I'll do events focused on something such as mature students, to kind of get them involved within a sport as well, for them to get to know each other and their societies, because when it comes to Freshers Week, when they all come to university at the beginning, some of the mature students don't really get involved as much with the younger students, but I believe that if you have a mature student-focused kind of event for them to get to know the societies and what they can do for them to like kind of join together, because if you have like one mature student joining a society, they might feel left out, but if you have like an event kind of focused on them then say, oh, let's join this, and then the one for that's left out.
Thanks, Andrew. Jake?
What was the question again?
How would you encourage different types of students to get involved with activities?
Okay, yeah, so one thing that I'm working on personally at the minute and I want to take into next year is a kind of almost a decoupling with sports groups and societies and making them more kind of fit for purpose for each group. One thing that myself and Jonathan have been working on is an inclusive participation policy, looking at kind of how students recruit members, how sports clubs recruit members, and ensuring that there isn't any unconscious bias and things like that, because if there's one thing that I can hold my hands up to is that sports isn't as inclusive as it should be, so we want that to be a strong policy within the SU that sports and societies are inclusive, basically.
Thank you, Jake. Now the fourth question, how would you juggle the funding needs of a varsity of student activities groups when you have a finite budget?
Okay.
That's for you, Jake, to start with.
How would you juggle the funding?
Yeah, funding for the varsity of student activities.
How would you juggle the funding needs of the I don't understand the question. How would you juggle?
Like when you have a limited budget. So
Okay.
how would you?
Okay, so one thing that I want to introduce is monthly SAE meetings for societies. So one thing that we've learned about sports is that at the beginning of the year they're funded and their affiliations paid for and the travel's all accounted for and things like that, whereas societies are expected to plan a year's worth of events with the ratification when they work on different things and things change, and just like our manifestos, things evolve throughout the year. So with monthly SAE meetings for societies, it means that they can come to us, pitch ideas, pitch projects that we can then fund on an individual basis, rather than saying, right, plan the next 12 months now. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Andrew?
Can you just repeat the question again?
Yeah, sure. How would you juggle the funding needs of a varsity of student activities groups when you have a finite budget or limited budget? What would you do?
It's a very wordy question.
Yeah, like.
Right.
Oops. Variety. Yeah. No, my bad.
I don't really know how to answer this one because I've not worked upstairs as an officer, so I don't know too much about the funding and so on, so I'm going to just kind of skip that question because I don't have enough experience in it. Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
That was like a tough question. Okay, the last question. What one thing makes you the right candidate for this role? And I'm starting with Andrew this time.
Yep. I believe that I'm the right candidate for this role because I believe that everyone deserves an opportunity to work as an officer, as part of the SU. I've been working for the shop in the SU for about my second year now. I've also been a sports club member, so I've seen things that I believe that I can make a change. And I believe that if I'm elected, I can kind of implement those if I'm given a chance.
Okay, Jake?
Yeah. The main reason why I think I'm the right person for this role is because I absolutely adore it. I feel like I was made for the role. I've spent this year getting to know it, getting to know what needs to be done, understanding the students, understanding the trends of the industry basically. And now I really just want to push forward my manifesto points. Being an officer, we're quite aware of the strategy moving forward. The strategy's come to an end and we're now working on the next steps and how the SU looks for the next 4 or 5 years. We sit in those sessions as an officer. That's one benefit that I get. And I really do feel like my ideas and my manifesto implemented would make activities better for students.
All right, thank you. Now we're moving on to questions from the audience. I'm just waiting for the mic so we can get some questions from audience.
Committee members and like presidents and stuff are a bit like unappreciated. I was just wondering like what would you do to like support them for all like sports clubs and societies, but yeah, like the committee members in particular.
Who's it for? For me? Oh, both of us?
Yeah, for both of you.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is something that I definitely agree with. Being president of football, I was on to Amy wherever she is. About kind of how we recognise committee members and stuff like that, because there is a lot of hard work that goes in that people don't necessarily see with the committees. So one thing that I'm working on at the minute, which we've actually just finalised, is a completely new structure for the SU Awards, recognising committee members as well as recognising individuals for their individual achievements, not just overall but specifically for sports and specifically for societies, because one achievement for a society which might be a great social breakthrough how do you compare that to somebody who's scored a try like Tom might? Like, it's incomparable, but they're both equally as important to each individual. So yeah, it's just about recognising success and recognising the individuals.
Thank you, Jake. What about you, Andrew?
Yep. One of the things that I had in my manifesto was redesigning the committee hub on the website, because I've not been personally a member of the committee for my team. But what I've heard is that when you're a new member of a committee and you take over, it can be quite difficult getting the whole process done. There's like a bunch of meetings, a bunch of that aren't done properly. So I believe that if I do like kind of like a PDF checklist for committee members, where you can have like a task list of the things that you need to do and so on. This will be all implemented on the SU website instead of like having meetings, paper forms and so on. So I believe if I redesign the website where the committee hub is, it can make the job easier for newcomers taking on a role on a committee.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other questions? Well, okay. Got a question here.
Hi. So from the perspective of a society president, when you're looking to cut the costs of memberships, how do you plan on kind of from our side of view, reallocating that money? Because for a society, we don't know what our funds are in advance.
Andrew, can you go first, please?
Can you please repeat the question? Sorry.
So with obviously Jake said he wants to, for students who are struggling in hard times, offer a third off memberships, and you want to have cheaper society fees. So how do you plan on within the societies giving us that money back that we would have from membership? I know Jake said that they'd be having monthly SAA meetings, because as a society we don't know what we're going to spend this money on at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. My solution to that would be, one of them was the flexible payment plan, which just kind of eliminates how expensive it looks if they have pay monthly. But if I was to make it cheaper, I don't really know, because I've not worked in the funding or anything with the SU, so I can't really comment on that because I've not got experience within that. But if elected, I would do my best to research on how I can make that better.
Jake?
Yeah. So you're asking how we would account for the money that's... Okay, so are you talking about the hardship fund specifically? Like the third off membership for hardship? Yeah. So within the activities budget, we have kind of things for participation, things for sports and societies, whatever. It's broken down, it's a budget. Yeah, and essentially we have the funding there for participation and for things that are kind of outside of the realms of sports clubs and societies, and how we would define that is based on a person by person basis. So the only thing that I could say is that being an officer already and being a trustee, the SU is able to provide that third off whilst also being able to give you guys the best experience possible too.
Thanks, Jake. Any questions? Okay.
You put on your manifesto, Andrew, you put on your manifesto you want more diverse freshers events.
Yes.
What, for example, what would you bring to the table?
Yes. One of the points that I was adding that I mentioned earlier was the activities, kind of events for mature students, because their lifestyle is different compared to someone coming out of college. So that's one thing that I'll be adding. And also maybe something possibly for maybe disabled students as well, for them as well, kind of just to diversify it up a bit more. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. Jake, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Freshers is something that's kind of been running for a few years and something that's kind of evolving, and definitely something that whether I'm in or not, whether Andrew gets in, we need to look at. Because there is definitely groups of students that we're not currently targeting and we're not engaging to the level that we should be. Yeah, I think that's probably all I'd have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, got a question here.
Because you're meant to help out the students and everything, right? I've just noticed, because it's so it's like a deterrent because we don't want to come into uni. So what are you going to do for students to come in uni? For example, I forgot my card the other day, and I thought it was very expensive for uni to charge us £10 just to print out a card. Or for example, how they're putting fines on everything now, just trying to get money from the students. So how are you going to help us with that?
Okay, officer hat on. I think I'm looking at you through a little gap. I think for activities, basically all that we can do in terms of this role is kind of make it as affordable and make it as accessible as possible for students. But in terms of kind of lobbying the university with charges and things like that, it's probably a role for the candidates who are running for president. All that we can do in terms of accessibility and making you feel welcome is do as much as we can on this floor, and that's a massive part of my campaign, is making this floor as inclusive and as entertaining as possible, and that's what I'll be doing with more stuff like the consoles. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Jake said. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? No more questions? Okay, so now we're gonna give each candidate half a minute to say a final word. So we'll start with Andrew.
Okay, my final words is that I'm going through SU for a bit, and I'd like, for about my second year now, and I'd like to kind of elevate my position as your student officer, as the activities officer. I believe that's a great opportunity that if you give me the chance that I can really make a difference, listen, communicate, and just make a difference within the year that I'll be given if elected. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Jake?
Finally. Yeah, I just think, like I said before, I absolutely love this role. I feel like I'm made for it. I've got so much to give. I really genuinely do believe that with the new strategy moving forward, that I can bring something to the SU in terms of making it more diverse, making it much more of a community than what we are now. Yeah, and I'm just extremely passionate about it.
Thanks, Jake, and thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully we're going to see you tomorrow for the community officer debate, and thanks, Ray, for wearing blue.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.